A 50p top rate of tax, a way to make dealing with the deficit fairer, or, as one former Labour minister says, lousy economics.
It might play to socialism, it might play to tribalism, and if you're in a 0 hours contract in the northeast of England on the minimum wage, it's going to be very, very attractive indeed. But the economics of it are that it actually doesn't raise the money people hope.
Ed Balls won't accept any of that. Digby Jones was never a Labour member, and the party says it's not going into battle with business.
This is not an anti-business agenda, but, Andrew, it is an anti-business as usual agenda when we've got such a big deficit and such a problem with the cost of living.
So what impact would his 50p rate have on that deficit? The economists can't be certain. When the rate was cut from 50p to 45p, it meant £100 million less money for the Chancellor, according to an estimate that the Independent Office for Budget Responsibility says was reasonable. But they also say there were huge uncertainties about the sums, because there's no way of knowing exactly how taxpayers will react. For example, when Labour said they'd bring in the 50p rate just before the election, people arranged to have an estimated 16 to 18 billion pounds of income paid early to avoid paying the tax. Labour think a 50p rate now might raise more than expected, though, because top rate payers paid more than was first thought when it was in place. And the Labour Chancellor who put the tax up last time says doing it again makes sense.
Ed Balls is quite right, in this is the last full year before the general election, to lay out proposals here in relation to deficit reduction.
One poll suggests voters like the 50p idea. In Leeds today, though, some mixed views.
I pay 40% tax at the minute. I'm just a worker, I'm just a welder. I'm getting higher tax on my low earnings, so why shouldn't they get higher tax on their higher earnings?
I do agree that it's right that people who earn very large amounts should pay more tax.
It frightens people off. They tend to move abroad, don't they? So they don't get any revenue back in, so I don't know.
In the 90s, Labour wooed the city. They called it the prawn cocktail offensive. Not anymore, say the Tories.
Ed Balls is sending the signal that if there was a Labour government, we'd go back to high taxing, high borrowing, high spending, and that is an anti-business, anti-job creation agenda.
Those the opening shots of a fight over a 50p rate that's starting now and won't finish any time before the general election.